feel like God just got a little screw in place, keeping a full blown race war from popping off.
Creative Atmosphere.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rita Rue. Welcome to Art and Inspiration, Episode 2. To begin with, let me fill you in on what you can expect from Art and Inspiration. While chatting with a guest, I'll be drawing a cartoon / caricature, and it'll be posted somewhere here on the screen where you can view. And it's my hope to inspire you to pick up a pen, a pencil, a magic marker, and a piece of paper and draw. But if you choose not to draw, it's okay. My feelings won't be hurt. But it's my hope that your time here is time well spent. Now, today's guest is near and dear to me. He's given his life to God. He's a poet. He's a husband. And he's my favorite nephew. Please help me welcome Cantstop Will. Cantstop Will, thank you for joining. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity.
So I'm just going to get right into it. I'm opening up with the introduction from your book titled Chronicles of a Poet, Volume 1. And you dedicated your book to God, who gave you the talent to write. And you mentioned that this talent was revealed to you during your middle school years at Thomas Day Gist. Do you remember the name of the class and the teacher's name?
No, I can only remember that it was the first creative writing class I ever had, but I can't remember the teacher's name. But it was the first creative writing class I had, and it was the first time I was ever introduced to poetry.
Do you remember the steps your teacher taught you to writing poetry?
She showed us a lot, but what stood out to me the most was, and she showed me many different forms of poetry, and there are many forms of poetry. But what stood out the most was she started us off with a rhyming pattern for four sentences, and you would make four sentences rhyme before you switched it to a new pattern. And that's something I still use today. I mean, I mix it up and I use different techniques, but I still, flow with that pattern.
I remember taking a poetry class while I was in middle school, and I just never could get the process of writing poetry. I liked it, but I never really understood poetry in general. And I can remember when you were young and you read your poetry to the family. I listened to what you read and I looked at you in disbelief and in awe because the work was so good, the way you expressed your feelings with the pen and putting it down on the paper. I was very proud of you.
I appreciate that.
Your work has truly evolved
Thank you.
with added visuals. For anyone who hasn't seen William's earliest body of work, I'm going to play a video, and the title of it is The Future of Cantstop Will.
What's up, y'all? I'm back again. I told y'all I'm gonna keep on dropping them. I'm not gonna stop. This one, I call this one Future. I'm wondering what lies ahead. So blessed to still be here when I could have been dead. But God has purpose for me. So I'm steady writing rhymes, really using my head. I can't stop until I'm dead. Can't stop until most of the world hears what I said. Going at this notebook like a pit bull seeing red. We can't be lazy. We gotta get out to bed. We gotta feed ourselves until our dreams are fed. I believe we dying inside if we ain't doing what we love. The good work down below and the corrupt sit high above. Gotta take life by the steering wheel and drive. Gotta walk up to the diving board and dive. Gotta be thankful and take advantage of being alive. Gotta make wise choices to survive. Gotta be consistent in this life to thrive. Gotta be aware of your surroundings when you arrive. It ain't just the early bird that gets the worm. Sometimes you gotta hunt all day long. When you're losing, you gotta keep going and be strong. Sit there thinking I ain't gonna make it and watch me prove you wrong. I took the nickname Can't Stop Will, cause I can't stop, and I can't be stopped unless it's God's will. Every day I'm gonna keep posting, giving you the real. Ain't no time to chill. And I'm giving you something everybody can feel. Some of y'all really ain't for me. Some of y'all just ignore me. But I'm gonna keep posting till you hear my story. I'm gonna keep pushing till they see my glory. Dudes with wigs and lipstick getting fame. And you think you ain't gonna hear my name? Big time comedians and they jokes is lame. Somebody standing in line finna act just like them and do the same. And I be sitting there shaking my head cause that's a shame. But that's the name of the game. Dudes making a whole lot of noise and ain't saying nothing, but can't stop saying something. And you can pretend you don't see me, but you gonna hear me, and can't stop us coming. Better make way for me.
Future of Can't Stop Will, that was an awesome video, William. And I do
Thank you.
want to bring up two lines that stick out to me. And I'm going to read it because I have the book right here in front of me. So, for everyone who doesn't have a copy of William's book, if you love the videos, you're going to love the book as well.
Definitely. Look
Um,
out for volume 2 coming soon.
so, the two lines that I like to read are as follows: We can't be lazy. We got to get out of bed. We got to feed ourselves till our dreams are fed. That really stuck out to me. Can you break that down for me?
Nothing comes to a man that won't get up. Nothing comes to a man that's lazy and won't go after opportunity. And as far as feeding your dreams, that's the footwork. That's the recording. That's the long nights. The long hours working on content. That's writing, praying, seeking God for words when you don't have them, seeking God to touch you, so that you can be creative, when you don't really have it in you. It's the consistency. So you can look and you can see that that dream has come to pass.
I want to give a little bit of background history on myself and why these particular two sentences stick out to me because it's always been a dream of mine since graduating from high school to do radio or some type of talk show. And I applied for entry into Specs Howard School of Broadcasting, and I didn't pass the entrance exam. Instead of studying and going back and trying it again and passing, I let the first time I failed that test take me out of getting back into Specs Howard Broadcasting's door. I went and got a job. The job distracted me from my dream, and it was a good job working at the Detroit Public Library. I actually retired from there. The next line that stuck out to me, William, was got to be consistent in this life to thrive. And one thing that I could say for sure about you is you've been consistent in writing your poetry ever since you began. You have not stopped. Would you like to speak to that a little?
I would say I haven't stopped since about 2018. That's where I really started going hard. Was that 2018 that we moved to AZ? Yeah. And like you, when I think about it, you brought up something that made me think back when I was in my earlier, my later teens, going towards my 20s, right before graduating high school, there was a guy he had a foundation called the Claire Foundation. And I think you came to one of my performances where I read in front of like a large crowd. That moment in my life, I should have stayed more consistent at that time, but I let friends and playing in the street and drugs and alcohol distract me. But that guy was really interested. He had something going on, and he was trying to take me to the next level. But because of my foolish lifestyle, my immaturity, I put my dreams on hold, with the lifestyle I had. And it took for me to go to Florida and mature and then move to AZ. And God cut that light bulb back on. Now I've been more consistent than I ever been with this poetry in my whole life. And it's like he just sparked me to keep going.
So, William, since you brought it up, I will ask with the drugs and alcohol, what attracted you to drinking and doing drugs?
You kind of familiar with my father's side of the family. Alcohol was introduced to me at a young age through my uncle, one of my uncles. The music, the party lifestyle of the '90s. You remember how stuff was going on. It was in every song, different rappers, different lyrics. So there was always an attraction to me. Alcohol was introduced to me, point blank right there in elementary school. And then I was always attracted to the weed and the parties and other stuff like
You said
that.
elementary school?
Elementary school.
What?
I caught my first buzz and had my first sip in elementary school. I was an elementary school kid.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. Man, that's
Yeah.
something else.
I dreamed the greatest things. Imagine being a blessed human being. It's amazing the things I've seen. It's truly amazing to have a queen. I dream of rising like smoke from a chimney. I see adversaries dying. They should have never been my enemies. I pray and I pay my dues. Thank God for the Trinity. Surrounded by hate and division, I pray and wait before making decisions. Stressed by weight and harmful conditions, I see idols and faulty religions. Thank God for the Bible. I see paradise and visions. Imagine God taking you to the next level. Imagine overcoming demons and the jealous devil. Imagine God touching the heart of a rebel. Imagine a man who will never settle. Imagine winning spiritual battles when we wrestle. Imagine being healthy with a clean vessel. Imagine being wealthy and truly special. I spoke rhymes in a dream that I never spoke before. I seen the sunshine with a beam that I never seen before. I seen beaches and water that seemed to bless the shore. I seen chains released from the addicted and poor. I seen levels reach where you couldn't imagine more. I seen places so beautiful you couldn't ignore. Another moment in history, now I'm 34. Life is such a mystery, a man can never be sure. I seek Christ for victory and receive what he has in store. I've been in the presence of angels. I've been saved from danger when my life could only dangle. I've seen messages and visions from other angles. I'm magnificent and artistic. His grace is sufficient and I'm articulate. I'm surviving poverty and negative statistics. I trust Christ with my life because I know he will fix it. I add poetry to my life, and what you hear is how I mix it. Imagine a dream come true. Imagine reaching others from what you've been through. Imagine touching one, then touching two. And after touching two, imagine touching a few. Imagine touching a multitude. Imagine a man like me speaking to you.
Right. Imagine a dream.
Yeah, what's really special about that poem is I actually had a dream the night before writing that poem. And in my dream, I seen beautiful things. I seen beautiful places and beaches and scenery that I never seen in real life. I heard myself speaking a poem that I never heard myself speak before. So I mentioned that in my poem. I was listening to myself, say poetry that I had never actually written down yet. I think it was like futuristic poetry. I remember meeting up with an agent. I guess she was gonna work out my shows and who I had to go and speak to. These are things that haven't happened yet, and I felt a whole special vibe, the whole time. And when I woke up, it was like electricity, and I just from line to line.
I know that it's not an easy task putting the poetry together and the visuals with it too. Are you doing this by yourself or do you have help?
I got my best teammate, and that's my wife. She does all my editing. She does everything. As far as my visual.
Wonderful. I love the way the two of you work together as a team. You've got a 1-2 punch and it's powerful. Keep doing what you do.
My poems can be short. God can touch my mind, and I can write a poem in 5 minutes. If I'm a little slower that day, it could be 15 or 20 minutes. The actual process of putting the videos together and picking and choosing what goes best with which sentence I just used or what I said last, and all the editing and putting it into the system and checking it to make sure it doesn't have errors, that can take anywhere from 5 to 8 hours.
To let the people know where they can find you and where they could check out your poetry, your social media information.
Look me up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Cantstop Will. You'll see me. Can't miss me. Look out for Volume 2. Chronicles of a Poet Volume 2 is coming soon.
I know that you were brought up in the church. We both were. What point was that in your life where you just decided to let God use you?
Define what you mean exactly when you say giving my life to God, when I decided to let God use me, so I can break it down much more.
Okay. Well, it's my thought that say if you're drinking and you're doing drugs, God is the last thing on your mind. You kind of putting that to the side. What made you put that to the side and pick God back up as your main point of focus?
Well, this is what's funny though, and I'm gonna try to go into everything. Well, my foundation. You know how I was brought up. My grandfather being a great preacher, and all. So the foundation and the relationship started very early. I can even remember even being in your room one day, sitting by the window, and I can even remember the birds chirping and the sun shining in such a way that I knew God was right there, and I told him hi. I can remember some amazing things and feelings I got, as a young kid.
Wow.
Then the growing up stages came. Then the introductions to the world and sin and getting high and all that stuff was introduced to me. So that took me down a different road. It's funny you said, being high and being under the influence, God is the furthest from your mind. I've had some situations where I've been under the influence of things, and it wasn't going the way I wanted it to. And I mean, to the point where, it's been some times I thought I was dying. I had to reach out to him in the midst of me thinking I was going to enjoy myself getting high that day. And I had to pray to him to preserve my life.
Wow.
It's been some times where, I knew I was too drunk to make it home. And I've had to pray, please, get me home, and almost in tears.
Yeah.
So in the midst of my foolishness, he made me reach out to him. He showed me that he
Wow.
was the only way out. So it's been a long, twisted, thorny road that I've been on, to get to where I am. And I'm still growing. I come a long way as far as, not messing with drugs and alcohol, but I'm still growing quite a bit.
Thank you so much for being so transparent with
Definitely.
everything that you include in your poetry. Just sitting here talking right now, letting people know your life and the things that you've experienced.
And I was just thinking, it's important to be transparent like that. I was having an issue with my uncle. I was talking to him about different things I was posting and why I was posting it. There's a young man or a young woman, a young lady or whatever that's gonna die tomorrow.
Hmm.
That think that they can go out and get drunk tonight or go and smoke something. They don't really know what they smoking. They might think it's just weed or whatever, and it's got a chemical in it or it has something in it that's gonna give them an adverse reaction, and they gonna die tomorrow. So
Hmm.
I gotta be transparent to love, because I know God spared me. I know I could have died.
Hmm.
I know He could have took my life. That's why I've showed different things about angels being with me. I've been on the road on 7 Mile, coming down 7 Mile on my way to Russell, and drunk and high and sleepy and fell asleep. And I
Wow.
heard a voice say, "Open your eyes." Sounded like a woman's voice. I think it was an angel though. Said, "Open your eyes." I was on the sidewalk, headed straight into a telephone pole. I
Oh my. Wow.
swerved back over on 7 Mile. This is the stuff I'm talking about being transparent. You know, people need to be saved. You know, because it's real out here.
Wow.
When the party is over, people die. When the party is over, people go to jail. You know, people wake up in jail. You know, so that's important. You know, so I put a lot of that into my poetry, as you know. A lot of that is in my poetry.
You had a lot of content was based on what's going on in our world today. We turn on uh, social media, the TV, and the word that I hear a lot is racist, racist, racist. And I remember when you posted videos that talked about that content, it was real and it was what was going on, but it didn't make me feel good to know that this is so prevalent in our world and that nothing has changed. Things just seem to stay the same as the years roll on. It's the same subject matter. What are your thoughts on what you see nowadays?
You just tapped into a couple of different parts of my spirit on that one. Racism is very real, you know. As a believer, I do want people to know, don't mistaken the good cop that may be white or may be another race for the bad cop. Know that there is a difference. You know,
Mm,
I've met some great people with the badge on that were white or whatever race they were, and I met some that were really awful too. I just want people to know who your allies is and know who your enemies are, and know who the main enemy is. You know, with the devil that wants the whole human race wiped out. Yeah, but racism is very real and it's a problem. And to be honest, it's so bad right now, and it's getting to a point where, in a minute, if God don't, if there's a, I feel like God just got a little screw in place, keeping a full blown race war from popping off. If at any moment in time he decide to remove that screw, it's so ugly, and the level of racism is built up so high it'll be a full blown war, some kind of civil war almost between black people and those who are racist, you know, and hate us. It's gonna be a serious problem, you know, and it is a very serious problem, you know. I mentioned in one of my poems or one of my videos, you can look it up on YouTube. But I remember an incident where I was sitting on the side of the road, and I happened to answer my phone. The police was dealing with a friend of mine because he wasn't supposed to be in the neighborhood. He was banned from the community, and I was pretty much let go by the other officers. But this other cop came on the scene, and I just remember him just yelling, just going off in a rampage, you know, because my phone rang and I answered it. Get off your effing phone. You're not supposed to be in your phone. Get off your effing phone. And it pissed me off, but I knew, God gave me the wisdom that if I had even said something as simple as, "Hey man, you know what's your problem? Chill out," he coming at me with the club. You know, they piling up on me. I'm getting rushed. I
right.
move along with that. I'm getting shot, and a lot of people have died because they said something in a situation like that. You
Right.
know, a lot of people have lost their lives. But I'm gonna say this, and I'm not so much, you know, I ain't inciting no violence or anything against law enforcement or anybody. But as far as that kind of behavior goes, and that racism and the ugliness that we seeing on a day to day, it gets to a point where a man says, if all I can do is be quiet when I'm being disrespected or I'm being harassed, if that's all I can do is be quiet and take that, or have a peaceful march, which, I don't see it doing a whole lot of good. Even Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'm not telling us to be ignorant or be savages, But I'm telling you, if a man gets to a point where he can't even say nothing, and they're just so rampant with the disrespect and with the abuse, and with all the stuff they got going on, it gets to a point where man just say, okay, well, it's war. It's war. I can't be respected just because somebody was people who wasn't, in that situation. I always add up the pros and the cons. Sometimes you can be in an area that you shouldn't be in. Um, Sometimes you can be in a place you shouldn't go to. Sometimes you can be in a situation where um, some people are over dramatic, and they blow a situation out of proportion. They get out the way with an officer when they really didn't have to. But I'm talking about I've seen so many different scenarios. Mine is one of them. I shouldn't have been hanging out with the guy or whatever, but there was no reason I had to be talked to like that. I've seen they jumped on a doctor, a medical student, just so many people who weren't even in the wrong place or in the wrong aspect of life or how they was living their life, and they have died or been abused by racist law enforcement. So when it gets to a level where you don't know if you're gonna live or die just because you're black, what do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? That's where it gets to. Like I said, I gotta pray and I gotta trust God, but it gets to a point where if He removes that screw, what do we got to lose? They get mad and they talk trash to us and oh well, we'll wipe you guys out. You're nothing or whatever. We already getting wiped out for nothing, just for being black. What do we have to lose? That's the point it gets to. Our brothers and sisters already being killed and coming up missing for no reason. I'm not even mentioning the people that's on the wrong side of the tracks. I'm talking about good people who didn't have any reason to be killed. And even some guys on the wrong side of the tracks being killed unjustly. But what do we have to lose if this thing goes sideways? Because we already being killed for no reason. We already being abused for nothing. So that's my thoughts on that. If that made sense the way I put it together.
If people gave their lives to God, do you think a lot of this could be resolved? Because it looks like to me it's just good versus evil in a sense.
Um, yeah. The thing with that is, and this is where you get people who don't believe, because you get people that wake up and they ask legitimate questions. You get people that wake up, little girls and boys, and they say, if there's a God, why was I molested? Why was I raped? Why did the little 6-year-old girl down the street get her brains blew out? If there's a God, you get people that don't believe because of this. And I'm on a level where those things bother me, but because of the hand He has shown me and the love He's shown me in my life, I know that He does exist. I think if a person really gets close to Him, and they seek Him, for their life and for not being harmed or whatever the case, I think they can avoid a lot of unpleasant situations in life. But it is a known fact that racism exists, and God is allowing it for whatever reason to go so far and to come to this point. You know, so I mean, look at Dr. Martin Luther King. He's a prime example. People that want us to be passive and don't want to see us stand up or get tired of the aggression and the stuff that's going on, they bring up Dr. King. But that man was assassinated, and he was nonviolent, and he was a believer, if I'm not mistaken. That man was assassinated. You see what I'm saying? You know, Malcolm X, he was taken out,
Mm.
but they were on two different sides of the tracks, and both of them died the same way. I mean, I would say it's getting better to the extent that you know people used to have to look down when they crossed the street and a white person was coming by. Like you don't really have that anymore, but you still got people that's calling the police if they don't like you because
Right.
you black. So it's like, it's really hard to say. You got to watch where you go. You got to watch where you live. You go somewhere, You got to look around at the people, what type of people they are, how they view you. So it's tough. It's really hard to say. But I mean, you can look up story after story and you can find more than fingers that you can count unjust killings of people who didn't do anything wrong at all. You can find more than the hands on your fingers. Matter of fact, you can find so many that you won't want to continue looking them up. Yeah, I was this close. I was one word or even maybe a look. I could even look the wrong way from being a part of that wall of black people that have been killed or harmed in some way. I was this close. Only by the grace of God and me knowing that wasn't my time to speak or wasn't gonna be good for me. I even got one video where a lady she was law enforcement, but she didn't have her uniform and everything on. And by the grace of God, her letting him know that she was an officer saved her some form of further harassment or abuse or
Yeah.
murder or
Mm.
murder. Like I say, God is holding a screw between a full blown some type of civil race war popping off right now. He's got a little screw, and if he lets it come out, that's it.
Yeah. Well, William, let everybody know how they can see your content and how they can get in touch with you.
Can't stop Will, can't stop Will, can't stop Will. Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Thank you so much, William.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. And until next time, bye for now.
All right.